You are not thinking of them by accident. You wake in the quiet hours, mind spinning. Their face appears unbidden in every shadow, every flicker of memory. A single text, a laugh, a glance. You replay it endlessly. Each replay feels significant, like a thread connecting you, but the thread is fragile, invisible, and entirely of your own weaving. Carl Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." Your fixation is not about them. It is about the hunger you carry inside, the part of you that craves recognition, connection, validation. The mind does not simply observe, it traps, it loops, it conjures an illusion of closeness that never existed outside your own imagination. Every notification, every small sign becomes a beacon. You imagine them thinking of you, just as you think of them. Your mind builds a private theater, projecting conversations that never happened, texts read into hidden meanings, gestures inflated into proof of mutual desire. This is the mind's trap. Like a moth circling a candle, you are drawn to the warmth of imagined attention, never realizing that the heat is generated solely by your own desire. It is intimate, persuasive, and dangerously convincing. You feel connected, but in truth, the connection is one-sided. Every mental scene, every whispered word is a reflection of your longing, not their reality. And then comes the question that haunts the one that emerges in the dark, when the world is asleep. Are they thinking of me too? You whisper it aloud, though the silence offers no answer. It is the oldest human insecurity, timeless and relentless. We want mirrors of our feelings, proof that our emotional investment is returned. And yet the universe offers no guarantees. They may not think of you at all. The mind knows this, but cannot stop the heart from hoping. This tension, the pull between desire and uncertainty, is what drives the obsession, what keeps the nights long and the thoughts relentless. It is cinematic, unbearable, and intimately human. Beneath it all lies the silent pain, the loneliness of unreciprocated attention. You carry it like a shadow, unnoticed by others, invisible in the daylight, but suffocating when the world goes quiet. Every imagined connection sharpens the ache of absence. The longing twists, becomes hunger, a quiet gnawing in the stomach, a weight behind the eyes. It is the feeling of shouting into a void, of speaking and hearing only echoes. You look around, and life goes on for everyone else, but you are caught in the storm of your own projections. Carl Jung wrote of the shadow, the part of ourselves we deny but which shapes our reality. This is your shadow now, your desire, your fixation reflected in empty spaces. You feel every imagined glance, every hypothetical thought, every silent message from a universe that may never respond. Yet this pain, raw and vivid, is also a signal. It tells you what matters to you, what you are afraid to lose, what part of your soul is unfulfilled. The mind's trap, the haunting question, the silent ache, they are not curses, they are mirrors, reflecting the depth of your humanity, the intensity of your longing, the places where your heart is still learning to stand on its own. You are not alone in your longing, but you are alone in your illusions. Nothing has a stronger influence psychologically on their environment and especially on their children than the unlived life of the parent. Carl Jung. You notice it first in small, almost invisible ways. A thought pops into your head, an image, a memory, a dream, and you convince yourself it is a signal. The universe, you tell yourself, is trying to speak through these tiny coincidences. Your mind clings to them like a lifeline. A song plays at the exact moment you were thinking of them. A friend mentions their name out of the blue. You feel a shiver of recognition, as if the cosmos itself has acknowledged your longing. But these are not messages from them, nor from fate. They are mirrors of your obsession. Each coincidence is a reflection of your own focus, a pattern created by repeated attention. Synchronicity is seductive. It convinces you that something larger is at play, that the heart is not merely chasing shadows. Yet Jung warned that the unconscious can craft illusions so vivid you mistake them for reality. The more you watch, the more you project. The more you wait, the more you inflate trivial signs into proof of connection. It is a mirage, a desert of longing where every small oasis is self-made. You think you are seeing signals, but in truth, you are seeing yourself. And so, false love begins to take root. Every gesture is a test. Every word is a clue. That casual smile, a brief text, a friendly comment, they feel heavy with meaning, though they carry no weight at all. Emotional hunger transforms ordinary interactions into drama, significance, and proof of mutual care. You replay their messages in your head, analyze the tone, the punctuation, the timing, searching for hidden intention. You are convinced that meaning lies in the details, that love hides in subtleties others would dismiss. But this is not love, it is projection. Your heart is narrating a story for which the other person has no script. It is the mind's alchemy, turning longing into perceived connection. You mistake familiarity for intimacy, attention for devotion, presence for commitment. Every imagined bond satisfies a need, but deceives the soul. Real connection is reciprocal, steady and visible in consistency. False love thrives in ambiguity and uncertainty, in shadows where reality is muted and imagination reigns. Then comes the dangerous comfort. Obsession is warm. It feels familiar, like a blanket in a cold room, like a candle flickering in the dark. Your mind clings to it because it masks the emptiness beneath. You wake to think of them, sleep thinking of them, and for a brief, intoxicating moment, the longing feels purposeful. Yet comfort built on illusion is brittle. It whispers reassurance while chaining you to anxiety. Every imagined synchronicity, every projected meaning, reinforces dependency. You are tethered to a ghost that answers only in echoes. The solace is temporary, fleeting, like catching smoke in your hands. Each day the illusion grows more seductive, the pull stronger, until you mistake obsession for stability. The danger is not that you care too little. It is that you care too much about something that does not exist outside your mind. Jung described this as the shadow of desire, the part of ourselves that we project onto others and then worship, mistaking it for reality. Until the illusion is recognized, it controls you. This is the mirror the mind holds up to you. It offers comfort, but it is a lie. Every small coincidence, every inflated gesture, every imagined thought is not proof of connection. They are reflections of your own yearning, magnified by isolation and desire. You are not loved in the way you hope. You are seduced by the comfort of imagining it. Only when you notice the pattern, when you see the difference between what is projected and what is real, does freedom appear. The illusions crumble, leaving the raw truth. Desire alone does not bind hearts. Understanding does. Presence does. Choice. You are drawn by longing, not by love. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Carl Jung. You find yourself drawn to the same type of person again and again. It is not a coincidence. It is your wounds pulling you like magnets, invisible threads anchored in old pain. Perhaps it was a childhood of inconsistency, parents distant, a caregiver unreliable, love offered conditionally, or maybe it was a betrayal, sharp and sudden, that left a scar you never truly acknowledged. These unresolved experiences do not vanish. They hide in the shadow of your psyche, shaping desire, dictating attention, whispering directions you do not consciously hear. When someone appears with traits that echo that old hurt, the mind latches instantly. It is not love, it is familiarity. The pattern repeats because your psyche seeks the unresolved, hoping unconsciously to rewrite the story, to fix what once broke you. You chase ghosts of the past in new bodies, each encounter a reflection of unhealed wounds, each longing for a call to the shadow you have yet to face. You feel drawn inexplicably, as if fate itself compels you. But it is your shadow steering the ship, the hidden puppeteer pulling strings behind your awareness. The unseen puppeteer is subtle, cunning, and persistent. You think you are choosing, exercising free will, but often you are responding to the scripts of trauma embedded deep within you. Jung described the shadow as the dark side of personality, the part we deny yet which governs so much of our life. It operates silently, activating patterns of obsession without your permission. A random glance, a familiar tone, a specific style of laughter triggers memories buried in your unconscious. Your mind interprets these triggers as attraction, as desire, when in reality they are echoes of past wounds. You follow the pull, unaware of its origin, imagining spontaneity where there is only repetition. Every fixation, every replayed scenario, every imagined connection is orchestrated by this hidden force. You feel urgency, compulsion, and sometimes even passion, but beneath it all is the shadow, guiding you toward familiar pain, teaching the same lesson in a slightly different guise, until it is finally recognized, integrated. Patterns emerge like tide marks on the sand. You notice it now, a cycle of longing followed by disappointment, a recurring ache whenever intimacy or attention is threatened or absent. You fall, then rise, then fall again, drawn to the same emotional terrain, the same unresolved dramas. One person mirrors a betrayal from years ago, another mirrors abandonment you never spoke about, a third simply triggers the anxiety of rejection, long buried. The situations differ, the faces change, but the wound beneath remains the same. It is cinematic, almost cruel in its repetition, yet it is not punishment, it is your psyche signaling that the lesson is unfinished. Every heartbreak, every obsessive thought, every night spent replaying moments in your head is the shadow speaking, demanding recognition, demanding that you see the source of your patterns. Awareness is the key. Once the shadow is recognized, once you name the old wound and see its influence, the compulsion begins to dissolve. You stop chasing echoes and start meeting reality. You stop being drawn blindly and begin choosing consciously. You begin to notice, with careful attention, how your past scripts have dictated your present attractions. You see the magnetic pull of unresolved hurt and understand that desire is often misinterpreted. A text that ignites hope, a fleeting glance that sparks longing. These are not mere coincidences. They are mirrors reflecting what is inside you, your wounds, your fears, your unmet needs. Each cycle of obsession was never about the other person. It was about confronting parts of yourself you have yet to face. When you realize this, the story changes. The shadow is no longer a hidden puppeteer. It becomes a guide. Painful recognition turns into clarity. The same patterns no longer bind you. You can break the cycle, choosing people and experiences, not for the echo of old hurt, but for authentic resonance, for connection grounded in awareness rather than projection. The shadow once feared becomes a teacher, illuminating the invisible strings that once controlled your heart. You are drawn to shadows only until you bring your own into the light. You cannot change anything until you accept it. Condemnation does not liberate, It oppresses. Carl Jung. You begin to notice it quietly, like hairline cracks forming in a once solid wall. The obsession started as a flicker, a spark of thought, harmless at first, but now it gnaws at you relentlessly. Every message, every interaction or lack of one twists your mood, your sense of worth. You replay their words in your head, dissect gestures, analyze tone, all while your own life drifts into the background. The mind convinces you that your value is tied to their attention. Self-esteem erodes under the weight of imagined neglect, each doubt a chisel carving away confidence. You feel fragile, anxious, dependent on signals that may never come. What was once casual curiosity has mutated into silent chains that bind your emotions. The world outside continues, indifferent, but inside you a storm brews. The cracks appear everywhere, in your decisions, your sleep, your appetite for life. You are tethered to an idea, a projection, a shadow, and with each tethered thought, the foundation of self loosens. Then comes the subtle but devastating loss of self. You begin to live in a world constructed entirely from imagined interactions, hypothetical conversations, and projected meanings. Your identity fragments. You measure your days not by your own achievements, but by their attention, their absence, their imagined feelings. Friends notice your distraction, your distance, your hesitation. You catch yourself pausing mid-laugh, mid-conversation, lost in reverie. Even your reflection in the mirror feels foreign. Who is looking back? Someone divided between reality and fantasy. The obsession doesn't just occupy your thoughts, it occupies your life. Your dreams, once vivid and personal, blur into theirs. Your voice, your choices, your desires, all muted. Identity fractures, where attention overflows. Jung described this as a form of psychic possession, a shadow that eclipses conscious selfhood. You are still there, but only partially. The rest is projected onto someone who may never return the gaze, and then the emotional storm arrives. It is sudden, overwhelming, and uncontrollable. Anxiety, sadness, longing, hope, and despair collide, spinning inside you like a hurricane. You wake with a pit in your stomach, checking your phone compulsively, replaying old memories, imagining scenarios where they think of you, where your presence matters. Nights are restless, days are hollow. Your heart races at the faintest imagined sign of recognition. The storm does not respect reason. Thoughts cascade into panic, then guilt, then despair, looping endlessly. Your body tenses without conscious command. Your mind magnifies every perceived slight, every delay, every silence into proof of failure, proof that you are not enough. Chaos reigns in a theater of the mind you cannot leave, where every emotion is exaggerated, every longing amplified. You feel disoriented, untethered, as if you are drifting on an endless sea with no land in sight. The obsession has become a psychic tempest, battering your soul, demanding surrender, yet offering no relief. In this collapse, the harsh truth crystallizes. The danger of obsession is not external, it is internal. It is the slow erosion of self-worth, the subtle kidnapping of identity, the unrelenting storm of unchecked longing. You realize that the more you surrender to imagined connection, the more fragmented you become. The mind's fixation is both tormentor and teacher. Only by observing the storm, by acknowledging the cracks, by naming the loss, can you begin to reclaim yourself. Awareness is the first anchor, recognition is the first light. Each tremor, each tempest, each fractured piece is evidence that something needs attention, not from them, but from you. You begin to see the contours of your own psyche, through the chaos, the outlines of self in the storm. You begin the slow, deliberate work of gathering your pieces, of standing despite the gale, of remembering who you are beneath the obsession. You are whole, even when the storm feels endless. Nothing has a stronger influence psychologically on their environment than the unlived life within us. Carl Jung. You realize, finally, that what you felt was never truly love. It was a hunger, a craving, a need projected onto someone who could never satisfy it. For months or years, you chased thoughts, imagined moments, interpreted small gestures as proof of affection. You believed intensity equaled authenticity, that obsession meant connection. But the truth is harsher and clearer. The fire burning inside you was fueled by desire, insecurity, and the deep yearning for validation. It was your need speaking, not theirs. Mutual desire was never the foundation. It was your mind filling empty spaces with imagined meaning. That late-night text, that fleeting smile, the subtle attention you dissected, they were never proof of love. They were sparks against the canvas of your longing, interpreted as warmth when they were simply light touching shadows. Understanding this is painful, yet liberating. The illusion dissolves, leaving clarity. Your emotions were real, but their object was a reflection of yourself. Projection colors everything you once mistook for connection. You imbued ordinary gestures with extraordinary meaning, turning small acts into affirmations, imagined glances into declarations. Your mind projected desires, fears, hopes, and past wounds onto this person, weaving a narrative that existed only inside you. You wanted to see care, so you saw care. You feared abandonment, so you interpreted distance as threat. Your past traumas, the neglect, the betrayal, the unmet longing, told a story, and your psyche cast the other person as the protagonist in that story. They became less themselves and more a mirror for your emotional history. Each interaction reinforced the projection, and with each reinforcement, your perception of love grew more elaborate, more vivid, more consuming. It was cinematic, but fictional. You were in love with an idea, a shadow, not a person. This realization cuts, but it frees. You are no longer chained to someone else's image, no longer deceived by the mind's alchemy. You begin to understand your own desires, your own wounds, and the ways you unconsciously animate them in the world. Breaking the spell requires awareness, and nothing more. Simply noticing the pattern, the way you interpreted signs, the way you gave power to illusion, is the first step toward liberation. Awareness is a light cutting through fog, revealing the difference between projection and reality. You begin to see your obsession not as fate, not as destiny, but as a construct of your own mind. You can choose to step back, to release the imagined bond, to return attention to your own life. This does not erase your feelings, nor does it diminish their intensity, but it shifts the locus of power. You no longer need validation from someone else. You can feel, observe, and return to yourself without being swept away. Freedom comes not from someone returning your gaze, but from realizing that the chains were never theirs to hold. The spell is lifted by recognition, by conscious choice, by the courage to disentangle desire from projection. You can finally see clearly, move freely, and create space for genuine connection. Connection grounded in reality, not fantasy. You were never lost to them, you were lost to yourself. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Carl Jung. You look into the mirror of your mind and see the shadow you have avoided. The part that clings to someone else, that measures worth by attention, that trembles at silence. This is not the other person, this is you. Unacknowledged, unhealed, unclaimed. It is uncomfortable, frightening, almost unbearable. Your fears, your insecurities, your longings, all projected onto someone else, stand in full view. To face the shadow is to step into the dark room of your own psyche, to let the corners of your mind breathe light. You notice the triggers, a delay in a text, a perceived slight, a look that feels like rejection. These are not betrayals, they are signposts. They point directly to wounds left unattended, patterns repeated, needs unmet. The intensity of your fixation is the shadow speaking, demanding recognition. You are not powerless, you are unaware. Recognition is the first act of courage. To name the fear, to feel the ache, without judgment, is to step into mastery. Each breath, each pause, each honest confrontation with what you have avoided chips away the power of obsession. The shadow is not your enemy. It is a map showing where yourself must grow. Once you meet it, obsession begins to transform. Energy once devoted to longing, replaying, imagining, can be redirected. Every heartbeat, every flash of desire, every moment the mind lingers on them, becomes data, insight, reflection. You analyze not to chase, but to understand. What do these fixations reveal about your fears, about unmet needs, about the patterns you repeat? You notice that the restless nights, the imagined conversations, the silent anxieties, they are not failures, they are messages. The mind's intensity is a fuel that, when consciously directed, illuminates your own psyche. You write down thoughts, examine triggers, dissect emotions without judgment. The energy that once enslaved you now serves growth. The shadow once feared becomes a tutor, guiding you toward understanding of yourself and the forces that once controlled your heart. Obsession shifts from a storm you cannot escape into a lens through which you see your own depths. Each insight is a spark lighting corridors of self-awareness, previously dark, revealing motivations, desires, and patterns. With insight comes sovereignty. You begin to reclaim attention, focus, and emotional space. The pull toward someone else is no longer uncontrollable. It becomes conscious, observed, and understood. You establish boundaries, not to restrict life, but to protect it. You breathe through discomfort, noticing impulses without acting on them. You learn to sit with longing without judgment, to feel without projecting, to pause without panic. Daily practices, whether journaling, meditation, or reflection, strengthen awareness, tethering attention to self rather than fantasy. The shadow no longer drags you, it walks beside you, illuminated. Freedom is not external, it is interior. Each choice, each act of observation, each moment you do not surrender to the compulsion reinforces mastery. Gradually, clarity emerges, the mind quiets, emotional storms subside. You realize that the power to feel, to desire, to love exists entirely within you, unchained from the projections that once bound you. Awareness alone turns captivity into sovereignty, obsession into wisdom, longing into clarity. You are whole when you meet your shadow and walk with it. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. Carl Jung. You breathe and notice the storm has passed. The racing thoughts, the endless loops, the ache of longing, they are quieter now. The mind feels lighter, the chest less tight, as if you've emerged from a tempest into still air. Clarity blooms where chaos once ruled. You see the patterns, the projections, the illusions that once held you captive, and in that clarity comes relief. The obsession that once dictated your emotions no longer commands them. You are not fleeing from desire, you are choosing presence. You feel the subtle pulse of life moving through your own body, your own choices, your own heartbeat. Peace does not demand forgetting, it demands acceptance, attention redirected inward, and the courage to stand in your own reality. The storm taught you what it meant to be consumed, and now its absence teaches what it means to be free. The calm is not empty, it is filled with awareness, a gentle yet powerful affirmation that life does not collapse without the other's gaze. Synchronicity, once a chain, now becomes an ally. Those small coincidences, the fleeting echoes you used to interpret as proof of love, now appear as guidance, reminders of your path rather than validations of obsession. A song at the right moment, a message from a friend, a memory surfacing, all are signals to observe, not to chase. Jung described synchronicity as meaningful coincidence. Now you see its purpose differently. It nudges, illuminates, and reflects, but it no longer dictates your emotional state. The world communicates, yes, but the authority resides in you. You watch with openness, curiosity, and discernment. You recognize that meaning is chosen, not imposed, that the mind's projections are optional, and that life unfolds with subtle guidance when you are attuned, not enslaved. Synchronicity is a mirror, not a magnet. And with this clarity, your gaze shifts to the future. Energy once devoted to fixation, obsession, and imagined scenarios is now reclaimed. You invest in your growth, your passions, your friendships. You engage with the world, not as a spectator of someone else's reflection, but as an active participant in your own story. Every step forward reinforces autonomy. Every choice aligned with your values strengthens confidence. Every authentic connection fosters genuine intimacy. You build a life where longing is no longer a torment, but a compass pointing toward fulfillment. The mind, once storm-tossed, now moves with purpose. The heart, once tethered to projection, beats freely. Hope is not a distant dream. It is the lived reality of presence, awareness, and self-possession. You are no longer caught in cycles of imagined desire. You are anchored in conscious choice, ready to meet life fully, with clarity and courage. You are free when peace guides your heart, not obsession. You were taught to please, long before you ever knew yourself. From the first breath, your world was a set of invisible rules. Sit quietly. Don't make waves. Smile when you're uncomfortable. Be good. Be seen. Be liked. You learned that your worth was measured not by who you were, but by how well you performed for others. Every compliment, every nod, every moment of acceptance became a contract, obedience in exchange for love, and in that exchange, your own voice grew quieter. In your childhood home, approval was the currency of survival. You learned to anticipate moods, to placate anger, to mirror joy. Teachers praised the obedient child. Classmates admired the one who never refused a favor. Even small acts, a chore done without complaint, a secret held silently, were rewarded with smiles or fleeting affection. And each reward quietly whispered, "Your value lies in compliance." At first it felt safe, it felt natural. But safety came at a price. Every yes built invisible chains, threading your freedom into the patterns of others' expectations. Every time you silenced a protest, a piece of your self-assertion slipped into the shadows. And now, as an adult, the echo is relentless. You say yes when you want to scream no. You overcommit, stretch yourself thin, and carry burdens that are not yours to bear. Invitations you don't want to accept, favors you'd rather decline, conversations that drain rather than nourish, each one a reflection of the childhood script, replayed. You volunteer when you should rest. You apologize when there's no guilt. You bend to preserve peace that is not yours to manage. Every time your own desires shrink, your own needs retreat, and yet you wonder why satisfaction is fleeting, why resentment grows like a shadow behind every polite gesture. The hidden cost is a slow, insidious erosion of self. Resentment coils inside, quiet but deadly. Anger simmers beneath the surface, unspoken, even usherganized. You become exhausted, not just physically, but spiritually, mentally, emotionally. Your identity fragments, scattered across every person you've tried to please. A hollow space grows inside, where once your authentic self could have lived. It whispers in silence, reminding you of the freedom you traded for approval. You crave connection, yet every act of compliance feeds a sense of invisibility, of being unseen for who you truly are. Look closely. Every time you defer your needs, every time you swallow a boundary, you reinforce the same lesson that shaped you as a child. And yet, this is not a weakness. It is survival. It is the strategy that once protected you from disapproval, from conflict, from abandonment. But the world has changed, and the script has not. What once kept you safe now holds you prisoner, demanding constant labor, constant pleasing, constant denial of your own voice. You are not failing. You are conditioned. You are trained to extinguish yourself in service of others. And the first step toward freedom is recognition. The piercing acknowledgement that this pattern is yours, inherited, learned, and repeated. Only when you see the chains can you begin to loosen them. Only when you name the script can you start to rewrite it. You are allowed to say no. Your life belongs to you. Most people do not see that the desire to please is a trap disguised as love. You chase approval like a moth to a flame, believing each compliment, each nod, each fleeting smile is proof that you matter. For a moment, it feels intoxicating. Someone noticed you, someone values you. Your chest swells with the temporary high of acceptance, but it fades fast. And each time it fades, emptiness creeps in. A quiet echo reminding you that the world applauds the mask, not the soul beneath it. Social media likes, workplace praise, friends who only call when they need something. These are all mirrors that show your reflection as good or useful, never as complete. You learn to hunger for these moments, mistaking them for love, mistaking them for self-worth, mistaking them for home. And so you comply. You say yes, even when your body screams no. You nod in meetings, answer texts immediately, offer help to people who don't ask for it, because doing so feels safe. It feels like control. If you bend, if you adapt, if you never refuse, then perhaps the storm of rejection will pass you by. But each yes wraps invisible chains tighter around your spine. Each act of compliance builds a prison of obligation. Your comfort is an illusion. The very act that seems to protect you slowly erodes the self you were meant to inhabit. It is paradoxical, cruel. The more you try to anchor yourself in the world's approval, the more you drift from your own voice, your own instincts, your own life. And then there is love, or what you think is love. You give yourself entirely to others, believing affection is a reward for your service. You adapt to moods, smooth over conflicts, anticipate needs, and in return you are given conditional love. Affection when you comply, withdrawal when you assert. Relationships become fragile, a house of cards trembling at the slightest deviation from the script. You learn to hide your anger, your desires, your needs, because to express them risks abandonment. Emotional debt accumulates silently, gnawing at your chest, leaving you anxious, restless, and painfully aware that your heart is no longer fully your own. Even the smiles of others feel borrowed against the price of your authenticity. Think about modern life. A friend praises your work, and you feel validated, but hours later, their critique cuts deeper because your sense of worth is tethered to their judgment. A partner compliments your efforts, and you glow. But any disagreement brings a storm, because your identity was never solid, only reflective. Every interaction becomes a test, every smile a ledger, the mirage of approval, the false comfort of compliance, the conditional love. It is a triad that keeps you trapped, chained to the expectations of others, while your own voice fades into whispers. And yet, awareness is the first crack in the wall. Recognize the mirage, feel the emptiness behind the temporary highs, notice the subtle tightening of chains when you comply, acknowledge the fragility of conditional love. You are not failing, you are caught in illusions that were crafted long before you understood yourself. The world has taught you that survival is measured by pleasing, not by being. But you can begin to see the truth. These illusions do not define you, they are shadows. They are masks, they are false comforts. You are allowed to have your own approval. You are allowed to choose authenticity over applause. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. You carry wounds you cannot see, echoes from a time when love was conditional, when approval was earned in whispers and silences. These are not just memories, they are blueprints etched into your psyche, quietly guiding every choice. A harsh word from a parent, a teacher's disappointment, a sibling's scorn, each left a scar, invisible but alive, shaping your responses, your fears, your compulsions. You learned early that displeasing others invites rejection, that asserting yourself invites conflict, that asking for what you need is dangerous. And so the shadow began its work, crafting survival strategies that felt necessary, even righteous. You were not weak, you were clever, navigating a world that demanded submission, training yourself to hide your boundaries, to dissolve into the expectations of those around you. These inherited and learned wounds are not anomalies, they are the soil in which your shadow grows. Every automatic yes, every muted protest, every self-erasure is rooted in this ancient programming. Your shadow is not the enemy, it is the messenger, carrying the unresolved echoes of childhood, silently nudging you toward behaviors that once kept you safe. Even now, in everyday life, The shadow moves unseen, pulling strings behind the scenes. You take on extra responsibilities at work, even when your plate is full, because the inner voice whispers, this is what will keep them happy. This is what will keep you safe. You endure disrespect from friends or partners, ignoring hurt and swallowing pride, because the shadow fears abandonment more than discomfort. You tolerate betrayal, rationalize it, even excuse it, not because you are weak, but because the hidden self has learned to prioritize survival over authenticity. These patterns are subtle. They do not announce themselves with fanfare. Instead, they infiltrate your life quietly, nudging decisions, shaping priorities, bending your behavior to old scripts, written long before you could question them. And often, you do not recognize that it is your shadow acting until resentment, exhaustion, or silent rage surfaces unexpectedly, leaving you puzzled at your own compliance. Certain people, certain moments, certain triggers act as mirrors to your hidden wounds. A colleague's dismissive glance, a partner's fleeting irritation, even a friend's offhand criticism. These seemingly small events can ignite an automatic response, a reflexive pleasing or self-silencing. Your shadow recognizes echoes of the past in the present, replaying the scripts you learned to survive. You might over-explain, over-apologize, or over-commit without realizing why. The behavior feels unconscious, yet it is purposeful. A shadow-driven strategy designed to avoid pain, maintain connection, and protect fragile self-worth. These triggers are not random. They are invitations to meet the unhealed parts of yourself, to confront the patterns that have been running silently, shaping your life without consent. By observing them without judgment, by naming the automatic responses, you begin to untangle the shadow's web and reclaim choice. When you understand that your inability to say no is not weakness, but shadow-driven survival, the weight shifts. You see that every yes born of fear is a message. Every compromise without consent is a signal. Your shadow is not condemning you. It is showing you what needs recognition, integration, and care. Awareness is the first step toward freedom. By acknowledging the wounds, the subtle puppeteer, the triggers that guide your reactions, you can begin to step out of automatic compliance. You can learn to pause, to observe, to choose consciously. The shadow does not disappear, but it can be transformed from a master into an ally, a guide rather than a jailer. You are allowed to see your wounds. You are allowed to choose. You cannot find peace by avoiding your own truth. You have been wearing masks so long that you sometimes forget where you end and the world begins. Every smile you've offered, every agreement you've whispered, every gesture of compliance has been a stitch in a patchwork identity. The self that was once whole has been folded, stretched, and reshaped to meet the expectations of others. You adapt in silence, choosing words carefully, adjusting moods to match the room, bending beliefs to avoid conflict. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the authentic you retreats into the shadows. Your reflection in mirrors, in conversations, even in social media, is not a mirror of who you are. It is a mosaic of projections, a costume of who you think others want you to be. You may have convinced yourself this is survival, but it is a slow erosion, a surrender of your own essence for a fleeting sense of harmony. The truth is sharp. Living as a mask fragments the soul. You begin to recognize the emptiness in interactions that should have felt intimate. Every conversation becomes a negotiation between your hidden self and the role you must perform. Inside, a storm rages quietly. You feel the pressure to overcommit, to please, to sacrifice your time, energy, and desires. A text unanswered immediately brings guilt. A declined invitation feels like failure. Every decision becomes a tightrope walk between your needs, and the imagined judgment of others. Anxiety coils around your chest like a serpent, tightening with each compromise. Sleep comes fitfully because your mind replays the unending ledger of favors done, apologies offered, and patience extended. You feel the weight of invisible chains, the exhaustion of living for the approval of others. Even when no one is watching, the internal voice of the conditioned self reminds you to bend, to adapt, to swallow discontent. The cost is immense: emotional fatigue, mental depletion, and a constant sense of inadequacy. Eventually, the body and soul signal their limit. Tears come unbidden, anger erupts in small, shocking moments, or you become numb, as if the storm has hollowed you out. Passive-aggressive remarks slip from your lips, not from malice, but from the frustration of living under invisible rules that never honor your true self. Even joy becomes muted, dulled by the constant negotiation between fear and duty. These breaking points are not weakness. They are the inevitable eruption of a life compressed into roles that were never yours to inhabit. They force confrontation with the truth. Your identity has been sacrificed for external harmony, and the price is a self that feels fractured, hollow, and at war with itself. Recognize the signs. The sleepless nights, the heart racing with invisible obligations, the moments when your emotions spill uncontrollably. These are signals that the masks can no longer hold. This collapse is not the end. It is the invitation to reclaim the self. It is the moment where you can begin to gather the fragments, to face the shadow, and to rebuild from the inside out. The path forward requires courage to say no, to honor boundaries, to listen to the whispers of the authentic self you buried beneath years of compliance. Healing begins here, in the rubble of a life lived for others, with the promise that each piece you reclaim will bring you closer to wholeness. You are allowed to reclaim yourself. You are allowed to breathe freely. Love that demands your surrender is not love at all. You grew up learning that affection, attention, and approval were rewards to be earned. Compliments were given for compliance, smiles for obedience, and warmth for conformity. But this is not love. It is conditional approval. True love does not punish your independence, nor does it demand you erase your boundaries. It accepts your no as naturally as your yes. Conditional approval, on the other hand, teaches you to shrink, to adapt, to dissolve yourself into what others desire. A parent's praise when you obey, a teacher's nod when you follow the rules, a partner's attention only when you bend. These were lessons disguised as care, and you internalized them, believing that to be loved, you must sacrifice your voice, your choices, yourself. The painful truth is clarifying: the desire to be accepted at any cost is not love. It is a survival mechanism. Recognizing this is the first step toward disentangling your identity from the approval of others, toward seeing that the patterns that once protected you now limit you. For years, you may have equated pleasing others with being loving. You offered gestures, favors, constant attention, and emotional labor, believing that these acts were proof of connection. You smiled when exhausted, said yes when you wanted no, adapted to moods you could not control, all to maintain harmony. But this is transactional love. It gives only what the other expects, never what your authentic self can offer freely. It erodes the very thing it pretends to honor, your essence. When you please to secure affection, your heart contracts, your soul waits for a reward that never matches the cost. The paradox is cruel. You feel generous, loving, caring, but in truth, you are trading pieces of yourself for the illusion of connection. Recognizing this does not make you unloving. It makes you awake, aware of the difference between survival behavior and authentic presence. Ownership of the past is the bridge to freedom. Those childhood scripts, patterns of conditional approval, of bending, of silence, shaped you. Yes, they guided your survival, protected you from rejection and taught you how to navigate the expectations of others, but they do not dictate your future. The power to choose differently rests in your hands. You can honor the lessons of the past without surrendering your autonomy. You can recognize that pleasing others is not the same as loving them or yourself. Each no spoken consciously, each boundary set firmly, each act of authenticity becomes an act of reclaiming your life. The past informs you, but it does not chain you. Awareness transforms strategy into choice, fear into clarity, obedience into self-respect. The reframing is profound. What you once mistook for love was a mechanism for survival, not connection. Understanding this shifts the lens through which you view every interaction, every relationship, every pattern that once held you captive. You can see that your desire to please was never about others. It was about protecting yourself in a world that taught you that surrender was safer than assertion. And now, seeing it clearly, you can step forward differently, with insight, courage, and the willingness to honor your true self in every decision. You are allowed to love without surrendering. You are allowed to choose freely. The shadow is not the enemy. It is the part of you that has been waiting to be seen. You have spent a lifetime reacting to invisible chains, saying yes before you even knew you had a choice. The first step toward empowerment is not to fight the shadow, but to look at it. Notice the compulsions without judgment, the automatic agreeing, the overextending, the silent compromises. Watch them as if observing a character in a play, not as defects in yourself. Feel the tension in your chest when a request feels heavy, the tightness in your stomach when a boundary seems impossible to voice. These are the shadows speaking, carrying fears learned long before you understood them. Observe them. Let them surface without shame. This is psychological reconnaissance. You are not weak. You are awake. The more you watch, the more you realize that your behaviors were never moral failures, they were survival strategies, and seeing them clearly is the first act of courage. The moment you step into agency instead of automatic reaction, integration comes next. Name the fears, the triggers, the invisible rules that drive your actions. When you recognize that anxiety spikes when you imagine disappointing others, or that guilt emerges the moment you refuse a request, you turn shadows into guides. They no longer pull you unconsciously, they offer information. Every fear, every compulsion, every reactive yes becomes a signal of what you need to honor in yourself. This transforms behavior from reactive to deliberate. A meeting request, a social obligation, a difficult conversation, each becomes a choice, not a trap. You breathe in awareness, exhale compulsion. Naming the shadow does not dissolve fear. It gives you a voice to act consciously. You realize that the shadow, once hidden and controlling, is now a tool for insight, a compass for decisions, a mirror reflecting the parts of yourself you have neglected. And finally, liberation emerges in boundaries. Saying no is no longer an act of guilt, rebellion, or fear. It becomes a statement of self-respect, a declaration that your energy, your time, your heart are yours to govern. Boundaries are not walls to isolate, they are bridges to authenticity. The first time you decline a request without apology, you feel the exhilaration of agency. The first time you assert your needs in a conversation, you notice the respect that follows, not fear, not resentment, but genuine acknowledgement of presence. Each conscious yes and each deliberate no reshapes your inner world. You move through relationships and obligations with clarity, strength, and dignity. The shadow, once a source of covert control, now serves as a guide toward freedom. Empowerment is not about pleasing more effectively. It is about living consciously, choosing consciously, reclaiming the right to define your life. Meet your shadow, speak with it, learn from it, and then act with intention. Watch as fear transforms into clarity, guilt into choice, and compulsion into freedom. This is not a final act. It is the beginning of sovereignty over your own life, the moment where yes and no belong to you alone. You are allowed to see, to name, and to choose. You are allowed to be free. Freedom begins the moment you say no without fear. You stand at the edge of your own life, no longer pulled by invisible chains or guided by shadows you once feared. The act of saying no is no longer defiance. It is love. Love for yourself, for the parts of you that have been silenced, for the boundaries that protect your energy and integrity. Each refusal becomes a declaration. Your presence is valuable. Your time is sacred. Your heart deserves respect. When you choose consciously, you are not pushing others away. You are creating a space where authentic connection can thrive. No longer do you bend to avoid conflict or to earn approval. Each decision is deliberate, rooted in clarity rather than compulsion, transforming old patterns of fear and guilt into freedom and presence. You realize that your yes now carries meaning and your no carries strength, both serving the higher purpose of truth and integrity in your life. Peace becomes the new priority. Boundaries are not walls, they are bridges to clarity. By honoring your needs, you allow calm to replace chaos. The frantic mental noise of overcommitment, the tension of unspoken resentment, the silent exhaustion of pleasing all dissolve into quiet confidence. You wake up with energy that was once drained by others' expectations, and you move through relationships with intentionality. The people who remain in your life are not there out of obligation, but because of genuine respect and shared alignment. Conversations are no longer battlegrounds of manipulation and guilt. They are spaces of honest exchange, where your presence is welcomed, not exploited. The calm you cultivate radiates outward, influencing the world around you. Each choice you make consciously reverberates with integrity, creating a life that feels whole rather than fractured. And then comes the vision of a life reclaimed. You walk through your days fully present, each moment colored by authenticity and self-respect. You laugh freely, speak openly, and feel deeply without fear of judgment. Your identity, once scattered across masks and obligations, is now integrated and strong. Decisions are made from awareness, not habit. Emotional responses are measured, deliberate, and reflective of your true self. You witness connections that were once shallow deepen into genuine intimacy, founded on truth rather than compliance. The storms of the past, the anxiety, guilt, and shadow-driven reactions no longer define your landscape. You are free to pursue what aligns with your soul, to honor your boundaries, and to cultivate relationships that reflect mutual respect and understanding. Life becomes not a series of compromises, but a canvas painted with your conscious choices, each stroke guided by clarity, courage, and love. This is the life that emerges when fear no longer drives you, when shadows are integrated, and when peace becomes your compass. You are not merely surviving, you are living fully, openly, authentically. Each step forward is a testament to the courage it takes to reclaim yourself, the quiet strength of boundaries honored, and the radiant freedom of conscious choice. Hope is no longer abstract. It is embodied in your presence, your decisions, and the serene authority with which you navigate the world. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to live in peace. You are allowed to be fully yourself. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. You hold a book that the world was never meant to see. A manuscript drenched in the blood of a man who dared to confront himself. Carl Jung's Red Book was not just pages bound in leather. It was a map, a mirror, a descent into a psyche few would survive. For 50 years, it was hidden, locked away, not because it lacked brilliance, but because it revealed the truths we fear most, that our lives are not governed by reason alone, but by shadows we do not recognize. Imagine walking through a city at night, thinking you see the streetlights guiding you, only to realize that the darkness between them has been steering every step. That darkness is the unconscious. That is the terrain Jung charted in secret. He wrote not as a scholar, but as a man at war with himself. Every word in the Red Book is soaked with torment. Jung faced storms no therapy could calm, confrontations with desires that felt monstrous, with fears that clawed at his mind in the quiet hours of the night. He painted visions of beasts, angels and strangers who spoke truths he dared not speak aloud. This was not imagination for pleasure, it was the terror of a psyche unbound. Even the man who would become the master of the unconscious could not escape the chaos within. Every insight was paid for with sleepless nights, every revelation with a fracture of the soul. Picture a modern life, someone climbing the ladder of success, surrounded by admiration, yet inside, the mind reels in panic, haunted by impulses they cannot name. Jung lived that terror on a scale few can fathom. And why did we never see it? Because it was dangerous. The Red Book challenges the very foundations of identity, morality, and social order. It whispers that what we believe as love, success, and virtue may be illusions, projections of our own unresolved shadows. It dares to suggest that the comfortable life, the one advertised as happiness, is often built on denial. To confront these pages is to confront your own hidden truths, your unacknowledged rage, the secrets buried in the corners of your mind. Societies fear such confrontation. Families, careers, reputations, all are fragile constructs, easily shattered when the unconscious speaks with clarity. Jung understood this danger. He understood that revealing the Red Book too soon would be like opening a door to a storm that many are not prepared to weather. Yet, here it is now, and it demands you see the reality of your own shadow. To read it is not a pastime, it is a reckoning. It shows that life, in its conscious form, is merely a surface, a calm lake hiding under currents of fear, desire, and unspoken longing. You may believe you are in control, making choices with reason and logic, but the Red Book reminds you that your mind is a territory ruled by invisible forces. Jung mapped them, and in doing so offers a chance to recognize them in yourself before they consume your life quietly, persistently, relentlessly. Face the shadow, and the light will find you. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. You walk through life wrapped in a blanket of comfort, convinced that routine, familiarity, and the approval of others will protect you. You think the small rituals, the scrolling on your phone, the endless meetings, the small talks that never go anywhere, are shields. They are not, they are chains. Carl Jung warned that most of us spend our lives running from the very truths that would set us free. The comfort trap is subtle. It whispers that safety is life, that predictability is wisdom, that avoiding pain is virtue. You accept jobs that numb you, friendships that drain you, and habits that distract you from the fire inside. You tell yourself it's enough because fear refuses to show its full face. Imagine a person living in a city they do not love, commuting along streets they do not choose, eating meals they do not taste, and calling it life. That is the cost of comfort. It is the soft death of the soul. You may feel secure, But the moment you pause, you will sense the emptiness, the silent hollowness, and the unspoken question, is this all there is? And then there is false love. You fall for people who are shadows of your own mind, projections of your unmet needs, or mirrors for your unhealed wounds. You chase connection, passion, and intimacy, but all you find is reflection. It feels like warmth at first, like a fire in the cold, but it is only a flicker burning bright for moments before extinguishing. Relationships become temporary pleasure, a mask for loneliness, a distraction from your own inner chaos. You love the idea of love more than the reality of it. You cling to words, gestures, and fleeting attention, mistaking them for genuine presence. In modern life, it looks like endless dating apps, shallow connections, or toxic attachments that keep repeating the same unhealed story. Each encounter teaches the same lesson. We are drawn to what we think will complete us, yet it only completes the cycle of avoidance. Ignoring these illusions comes at a cost you cannot escape. The shadows you deny do not vanish. They accumulate. Anxiety gnaws at the edges of your mind, emptiness echoes in your chest, and self-betrayal becomes routine. Every ignored impulse, every unspoken truth, every avoided confrontation with your inner self carves a hollow in your identity. You wake in the night with thoughts you cannot name, fears you cannot rationalize, and desires you cannot control. The chaos is silent but relentless, shaping decisions without your awareness. Society teaches that distraction is comfort, yet distraction is the mask of cowardice. True insight demands pain. True growth demands confrontation. The longer you cling to illusion, the more it festers, until one day you are confronted not with the world, but with the hollow echo of a life half-lived. Jung wrote that the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely, and this terror is the point. The illusions of comfort and false love are temptations designed to keep you from the depth of your own mind. The path to authenticity begins when you notice the chains, feel the hollowness, and recognize the mirrors for what they are. Only then can you step out of distraction and demand the truth of yourself. The cost of comfort is invisibility. The cost of false love is alienation from your own heart. Every small choice you make to ignore the shadow is a brick in a wall that separates you from your own life. But awareness is the chisel, and courage is the hammer. Begin to break the wall today. Face the illusions, and your soul will awaken. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. You feel in control of your life. You believe your choices are yours. But beneath the surface, a shadow stirs, a part of you refuse to see. It is not a phantom, it is a living force within you, born of fear, desire, and unhealed wounds. It whispers in moments of hesitation, shapes your decisions in silence, and pulls strings while you swear you are free. Imagine standing on a stage, performing for an audience, smiling, speaking words that feel rehearsed, while beneath your polished exterior, impulses stir that you cannot name. That is the shadow speaking. Every late-night argument, every irrational fear, every pattern you cannot break, is an echo of that unseen force. Jung wrote that the shadow is a moral problem that challenges the whole ego personality, for no one can become conscious of the shadow without considerable moral effort. You cannot ignore it. It directs your life quietly, invisibly, until you face it, or it shapes you without consent. These shadows are not born in isolation. They are inherited. Trauma travels across generations like a silent contagion, embedding itself in families, societies, and cultures. The fears your parents could not face, the shame they could not name, the anger they buried, all this lives within you. You carry the unspoken words, the denied grief, and the hidden impulses of ancestors you never met. Imagine a child growing up in a household where silence spoke louder than love, where criticism was constant and affection conditional. That child learns to navigate life through patterns that feel automatic: fear of failure, need for approval, aversion to intimacy, without realizing these scripts were written before they were born. The shadow is personal and ancestral. It is you, and it is everything you inherited. You are walking the streets of your own psyche, guided by unseen hands, driven by impulses that feel like instinct, but are echoes of wounds not yet acknowledged. And yet, we cling to the illusion of choice. You wake each morning thinking you are free, making decisions consciously, steering your life with reason. But observe carefully. Why do you repeatedly choose the same toxic partner, the same unfulfilling career, the same self-sabotaging habits? You believe it is preference. It is not. The shadow masquerades as will, offering familiarity while avoiding growth. You take actions you call rational, but they are dictated by repressed fears and desires you refuse to confront. Even generosity can be shadow-driven, giving to feel superior, to silence guilt, or to manipulate love in return. In the modern world, this is subtle. The compulsive scrolling, the addictive habits, the unconscious patterns in relationships and work. Each choice is a mirror. The only way to reclaim true agency is to meet the shadow face to face, to acknowledge that what you thought was freedom is often compliance with inner chaos. Jung insisted that acknowledging the shadow is painful, but necessary. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. This is why shadow work is urgent. Every ignored impulse, every denied desire, every suppressed anger is a thread in the web that guides your life without your knowledge. If left unseen, it will manifest in breakdowns, compulsions, and emotional patterns that seem unchangeable. But when recognized, when faced with courage and clarity, it can be integrated. You can transform the force that once controlled you into a source of insight, creativity, and power. You can stop running from inherited wounds and see them for what they are: maps to liberation, not chains to submission. This is not a metaphor, it is a psychological reality. The shadow is the voice you cannot silence, the mirror you cannot avoid, the terrain you must traverse to reclaim life. You are not your habits, you are not your compulsions, you are not your unconscious drives. But until you see them, they will define the boundaries of your freedom. The shadow waits, patient, persistent, silent. It chooses for you until you dare to choose consciously. Recognize it, name it, meet it. Only then does the darkness stop directing your path, and only then does true light begin to emerge. Face the shadow and your life becomes your own. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. You believed you were whole. You believed the stories you told yourself about who you are, what you deserve, and how the world works. And then the cracks appear. The carefully constructed narrative shatters like glass under pressure. Your identity, once solid, splinters into jagged pieces, each fragment reflecting a truth you refuse to see. You wake up one morning and feel unfamiliar in your own skin, as if the life you built was borrowed, and the person you are has been wearing a mask for so long it has fused with your face. Imagine the collapse of your career, a failed relationship, or a betrayal from someone you trusted deeply, the kind that leaves your soul trembling. The fractured self emerges in every hesitation, every self-doubt, every glance in the mirror that questions, who am I really? Jung wrote that the foundation of all mental illness is the unwillingness to experience legitimate suffering. And the truth is, when the illusions crumble, suffering rushes in like a storm, uninvited but unstoppable. You are not broken because of the fracture, you are broken because you have been hiding the fracture from yourself. And then comes the descent. Chaos floods the psyche. Fear, despair, confusion, they swirl like a hurricane, tearing through your mind, leaving no corner untouched. Nights stretch endlessly, silent and suffocating. Every familiar pattern you relied upon feels meaningless. Even simple decisions become monumental, as if the weight of unseen forces presses down on every choice. Imagine a modern life filled with constant notifications, endless comparisons on social media, the relentless hum of work and obligation, and now imagine all that stripped away. What remains is raw emotion, unmediated by distraction. You confront the shadow in its purest form, the anger you denied, the grief you ignored, the desire you repressed. It is cinematic, violent, and intimate. It is the collapse of identity and the confrontation with self you have long avoided. This is not dramatization, it is the psychological reality of facing unacknowledged truth. The mind reels, but the collapse is necessary. And yet, amidst this chaos, there is clarity. The pain of truth is not punishment, it is revelation. You see where you have lied to yourself, where your attachments were illusions, where your comfort was a cage. The self you thought you were is an archetype, a shadow constructed from denial and avoidance. The pain cuts deep because it is honest. You feel it in the hollow of your chest, the tightening of your stomach, the restless ache that whispers change is inevitable. It is terrifying because it exposes vulnerability. Yet it is liberating because it is authentic. Modern life teaches you to numb these moments, to distract, to overwork, to scroll endlessly. But the shadow does not sleep. The collapse, though painful, is the doorway to rebirth. It strips away the unnecessary, leaving raw material for reconstruction. Jung observed that we cannot change anything unless we accept it. And this acceptance begins with acknowledging the fragments of self laid bare by collapse. You may feel lost. You may feel exposed. But this is the necessary alchemy. The pieces of your identity once scattered are the seeds of transformation. Every fragment holds a lesson, every shard a truth, and every crack a space where light can enter. You are invited to witness the collapse without resistance, to feel the chaos without panic, and to endure the pain without running. This is the threshold where individuation begins, the moment when you confront yourself fully, unshielded, and realize that the self is not lost, but being rebuilt. It is raw, intense, and cinematic. And when the storm passes, you will look at your reflection and see someone who has faced the void and survived. Through collapse, I find my true self. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. You look back at the people who once held your heart and realize something unsettling. It was never truly love. What you felt was not a connection. It was reflection. They mirrored your own wounds, your fears, your desires, your unhealed shadows. Every argument, every moment of jealousy, every desperate need for validation was a conversation not with them, but with yourself. Imagine standing in front of a mirror and mistaking the reflection for another person, pouring your longing, anger, and hope into the glass. That is what many relationships are: a mirror, a stage, a projection of inner chaos disguised as intimacy. You wanted love, but what you received was a reflection of what you carried inside, Jung said. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed, and the transformation is not always gentle. It reveals not the other person's truth, but your own. Projection runs deeper than mere reflection. You projected unmet needs, unspoken desires, and unresolved fears onto them, believing they would fill the void. You sought completion, validation, or redemption through someone else's presence, only to discover that the void followed you everywhere. Picture the modern patterns. You chase affection from someone emotionally unavailable. You idolize attention that cannot sustain you. You love the idea of being loved more than the reality of it. Every gesture that seemed intimate was filtered through your own neediness. It is not to blame. It is psychology. Jung explained that projection is inevitable when the unconscious is unacknowledged. Until you face your own shadow, every connection risks becoming a mirror for pain rather than a space for genuine growth. Recognizing this is painful, yet liberating, and in this liberation lies freedom. Once you understand that past attachments were reflections of your inner world, you reclaim agency. You stop seeking validation outside yourself and begin to provide it within. You see that the love you lost was never missing. It was misunderstood. The heartbreak, the jealousy, the longing, all were lessons, invitations to confront your shadow and learn to love yourself. Modern life is filled with distractions that keep you from this truth. Social media, comparisons, addictive behaviors, the illusion that someone else can complete you. But every moment of reflection, every tear, every pause is an opportunity to reframe, to see past attachments not as failures, but as mirrors pointing back to the self. The truth is simple. Love begins and ends within. Others can illuminate, inspire, or reflect, but they cannot provide what only you can give yourself. Jung reminds us that individuation is the ultimate relationship, the one with the self, unbroken, unprojected, and authentic. You may feel grief, anger, or regret as you reinterpret the past, but it is not loss. It is awakening. Each reflection, each projection was a teacher disguised as a lover. You learn that you were never incomplete, that validation was always inside you, and that freedom is born when the mirror no longer controls you. Every attachment that once felt consuming becomes a lesson in discernment. Every heartbreak, a step toward wholeness. You do not need reflection to define your reality. You need only the courage to meet yourself, face your shadow, and reclaim the love that was always yours to give. It was never outside me. Love begins within. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. You stand at the edge of yourself, staring into a darkness you have spent a lifetime avoiding. The shadow is there, patient, relentless, whispering truths you have denied. To confront it requires courage, the kind that shakes the bones, rattles the ego, and forces you to stare at the raw underbelly of your psyche. Every suppressed desire, every hidden fear, every impulse you've called shameful, unwanted, or dangerous waits in silence. Imagine standing in a room filled with mirrors, each one reflecting an aspect of yourself you cannot face. Some are grotesque, some familiar, some unbearable, but all are real. To turn away is to remain captive. To confront is to step into power. This confrontation is heroic, not in the sense of slaying dragons outside, but in the relentless inner battle against denial. Jung wrote, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." You choose now. You choose to look, to feel, to acknowledge, to name the shadow instead of hiding from it. Integration, not rejection, is the next step. The shadow is not the enemy. It is a source of wholeness, waiting to be reclaimed. Every trait you once despised, the anger, the envy, the desire for control, the insecurity, contains energy, insight, and potential. By rejecting these aspects, you remain fragmented, running from yourself. By embracing them, you gain access to authenticity. Imagine a river blocked by debris. The water stagnates, decays and breeds illness. Only when the obstacles are cleared, when the flow is acknowledged, does the river run freely, pure and alive. Shadow integration works the same way. Each impulse you meet with curiosity, each fear you witness without judgment, is a removal of the dam. Modern examples are everywhere. Someone who recognizes their competitiveness as energy, to create rather than to dominate, or anger as a signal to protect boundaries rather than destroy connection. Transformation is cinematic because it is a battle and a rebirth in the same motion. Mastery of self is the ultimate prize. Once the shadow is integrated, the chaos becomes a compass, not a chain. Your unconscious impulses no longer dictate life from behind the scenes. They become allies, teachers, and sources of strength. Individuation is not a metaphor. It is the alignment of conscious and unconscious, the harmonious orchestration of every part of your psyche into a single coherent self. Imagine a conductor who once battled each instrument in an orchestra, now guiding every note into perfect resonance. The power you feared in the shadow now fuels creativity, clarity, and decision-making. You become aware of the patterns, the urges, the temptations, and instead of reacting blindly, you respond with intentionality. Every moment of self-reflection, every pause before action, every insight into impulse is a declaration. You are no longer a servant to your shadow, you are its master. This is not perfection, it is empowerment, rooted in awareness, courage, and integration. Modern life tests this mastery constantly. The distractions, the social comparisons, the endless input, all are designed to keep you unconscious, fragmented, reactive. But when you meet your shadow, each challenge becomes a proving ground, a reminder of your inner strength. Every criticism no longer wounds unnecessarily. Every failure is data for growth. You operate from a place of grounded clarity, not reactionary fear. Jung believed that only through the conscious engagement with the unconscious can one become fully realized. The shadow, once feared, becomes your most loyal companion, your teacher, your power source. By choosing awareness, by facing what you once fled, you step into a life guided by agency, depth, and unshakable presence. You have the courage, you have the insight, you have the tools. The shadow waits, not to destroy, but to complete. To meet it is to step into authenticity, to reclaim energy lost to denial, and to wield your mind, heart, and soul with precision. This is empowerment. This is mastery. This is freedom. Face the shadow and claim your power. Even the darkest night will end, and the sun will rise. You have weathered the storm, the chaos that once ruled your mind, the shadows that whispered fear and doubt, the illusions that shaped your every choice. They have been faced, acknowledged, and integrated, and now, for the first time, there is calm. Imagine the stillness after a tempest, the sky clearing, the air crisp with clarity, the heavy weight that pressed on your chest, the relentless anxiety that followed you like a shadow begins to lift. You can breathe without resistance, think without panic, and feel without the chains of unacknowledged fear. This calm is not emptiness, it is presence, awareness, and relief. Jung described individuation as a process of becoming aware of and integrating all aspects of the self. The peace you feel now is the reward of that heroic journey. The storms were necessary, but they no longer define you. The path forward is one of conscious choice. Every day offers the opportunity to notice, reflect, and act with intention rather than reaction. You cultivate self-awareness through practices as simple as pausing before responding, journaling your thoughts, or observing patterns without judgment. You acknowledge triggers, understand projections, and choose actions aligned with your true self. Modern life will still challenge you, the distractions, the pressures, the noise, But now you meet them not with fear but with discernment. You recognize when chaos attempts to reclaim territory in your mind, and you respond with grounded presence. This is the work of continuous shadow integration to transform potential disruption into growth, fear into insight, and reaction into conscious response. Each step, however small, is proof of resilience and a commitment to living deliberately. And in this conscious living lies profound power. The mastery you have gained is not domination over others, but sovereignty over yourself. By aligning shadow and light, you no longer act from compulsion or denial. Every choice, every emotion, every interaction becomes a reflection of awareness, integrity, and wholeness. Freedom is not an abstract concept, it is lived moment by moment in the space between impulse and action. Imagine moving through life unshaken by old patterns, responding with clarity rather than confusion, creating rather than reacting. This is the fulfillment Jung promised to those who confront their unconscious, a life of depth, authenticity, and enduring peace. The chaos may return in waves, but you are no longer adrift. You are anchored, illuminated by the light of conscious presence. You have journeyed through fear, faced the shadow, and emerged whole. The calm is yours to keep, the path yours to walk, and the power yours to wield. This is not the end, but the beginning of living fully, deliberately, and freely, choosing peace over chaos at every turn. I choose peace, and my light guides me. You cannot change anything until you accept it. You are exhausted. Not just tired, but bone-deep weary. Every word you speak, every gesture you make, carries a hidden ledger of explanations. You justify why you work late, why you speak your mind, why you need space, why you said no. You try to convince, to reason, to bridge invisible gaps between yourself and the world. And every time you do, the air feels heavier, as if each explanation adds invisible weights to your shoulders. Walking through life feels like crossing a frozen lake. One misstep, one word too many, and you fear the ice beneath you might crack. Yet you keep stepping, you keep speaking, you keep explaining, hoping someone will understand, hoping someone will stay. But the truth is, the ice is melting not because of you. It's always been thin, fragile, and ready to give way, and you feel it. The exhaustion of explaining is not a burden you can simply shed. It clings, it follows, it waits in the quiet spaces when you realize no one hears the effort behind your words. In that exhaustion lies the trap. You trade your power for the illusion of approval. Each apology, each justification, each reasoned argument is a small surrender, a fragment of your soul handed to someone else for a temporary smile, a nod, a fleeting validation. You hope their acceptance will fill the emptiness, patch the cracks, make the world align with your truth. But it never does. You are caught in a subtle, invisible exchange, your freedom for their comfort. And the more you give, the less you feel your own ground beneath your feet. You have learned to bend, to explain, to rationalize, because the fear of rejection is louder than the voice that reminds you who you are. You have surrendered to their expectations, moment by moment, until the weight of it feels like chains around your ribs. And then, one day, the awakening comes. A single moment of clarity that pierces through the fog of fatigue. You notice that no explanation, no matter how precise, can anchor someone to you who is not willing to stay. You cannot pour water into a broken vessel. You realize that your worth was never contingent on approval, that loyalty is not earned by the volume of your arguments, and that love does not demand constant justification. It is a silent, quiet, unshakable force, and in that realization, something shifts. You feel the first flicker of relief, a strange lightness in the chest, the trembling edge of hope. The burden loosens. You are still tired, but there is clarity now. You understand that those who matter will remain. Those who leave were never meant to stay through explanation alone. You feel a subtle freedom, the kind that does not roar, but whispers. You do not have to prove yourself. The ice beneath your feet remains thin, yet it is no longer terrifying. It is just the landscape of truth. You are no longer negotiating your existence through words and reasons. You are simply present. You carry yourself with the quiet authority of someone who knows. The effort is not in explanation. The effort is in being. And this quiet knowing becomes your mantra, your shield, your liberation. Those who belong will stay. Those who leave were never yours to hold. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. You've been building bridges for years, bridges made of words, explanations, and reasoning. Every apology, every clarification, every effort to make someone see your truth is a plank laid across a river of uncertainty. You hope these fragile constructions will hold. You hope they will carry the weight of relationships, trust, and love. But bridges are delicate. Some are built of sand, some are built on cracks you cannot see. And the moment you step back, when you stop explaining, when you stop negotiating for acceptance, you see the illusion. The bridge wobbles. The sand gives way. Those who seemed steady vanish into the currents. You realize you were never truly safe. You were merely suspended above the emptiness, dangling in the hope that your explanations could anchor loyalty that was never yours to claim. Every text explained, every conversation justified, every effort to prove yourself, they were never enough. And now, standing on solid ground for the first time, you understand comfort that depends on explanation is always false. It is a mirage. It looks real until the light of truth hits it, until your silence tests it. And what about love? That illusion is even more treacherous. The moments of warmth, the fleeting words of affirmation, the brief smiles, they feel like lifelines, but they are temporary currents, flowing only as long as you feed them with constant validation. You remember the nights spent texting endlessly, crafting messages that somehow carried your worth, hoping they would respond with approval, hope, love. The mirror of their attention reflected your own longing back at you. But when you stop feeding it, when the explanations cease, the reflection disappears. You begin to see clearly this was never a reflection of love. It was a reflection of dependency. It was the fragile illusion of connection, maintained only by your willingness to justify yourself. True connection does not require constant reasoning. True connection does not demand a ledger of explanations. It is calm, it is steady, it does not falter when you stop proving your worth. And then comes the subtle poison, the one you carry unknowingly, acceptance. When sought through explanations, twists into a drug. You become addicted to the nods, the fleeting reassurance, the half smiles of approval. You bend your identity, shrink parts of yourself, hide your shadow, all to maintain the high of being seen and understood. Your authenticity is bartered for temporary safety. You forget what it feels like to stand unguarded. You forget that your self-worth should not be conditional. Each time you silence your own voice to fit someone else's expectations, the poison seeps deeper. You lose the taste of your own truths. The boundaries between who you are and who you think others want you to be dissolve. And yet, this is not a trap laid by others. It is a trap you entered willingly, unaware of the cost. The truth is that the act of constantly explaining yourself creates the illusion of love, safety, and acceptance. But in reality, it is a mirage. The world does not owe you understanding. And some people were never meant to stay, not because of your flaws, but because the bridge you built for them was never theirs to walk. Now, in the silence, you begin to recognize the patterns. You see who stayed without reasons, without explanations, without demands. You notice the people who remain steady in their presence, not because of what you justified, but because of who you are. And in that recognition, the mirage fades. The sandcastles wash away, leaving behind only the solid earth beneath your feet. The bridge you thought you needed is gone, but you realize you never needed it at all. You needed yourself. And in that moment, the illusion dies and clarity takes its place. True connection stands without explanation. The rest was never yours to hold. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. You do not see it, but your shadow is always at work. It is the unseen puppeteer pulling strings beneath the surface of your consciousness. Every time you justify, every time you explain, every time you bend yourself to be understood, it is not only your will acting, it is your wounds speaking. Early scars, unmet needs, childhood fears, and the silent moments when you felt unseen or unheard, they are alive within you. They dictate the rhythm of your interactions, the subtle tremor in your voice when you anticipate rejection, the compulsion to over-explain. You may think you are negotiating with the world, convincing others of your worth, but in truth you are negotiating with the shadow of yourself, the part that learned long ago that love, approval, or safety must be earned, not given freely. It whispers, explain more, justify more, bend more. You do it unconsciously, like walking through a fogged forest, guided by invisible hands that know only one path, the path shaped by old wounds. And the irony is cruel. The more you feed it with explanations, the stronger its hold becomes. You are not weak for over-explaining. You are enslaved to patterns carved long before you had a choice. These patterns are subtle, but they are persistent. You notice them in relationships, even without realizing it. You attract people who need your explanations, who thrive on your justifications, who consume your energy without giving anything in return, and you repel those who would accept you silently, without demand. You repeat the same cycles over and over, as if invisible gears are turning behind your eyes. You over-apologize, you over-clarify, you overcompensate, and sometimes you even rationalize the failures, convincing yourself that something must be wrong with you. But these patterns are not proof of weakness. They are proof of unhealed memory, of a shadow guiding your steps. Imagine a pendulum swinging, but instead of freedom, it pulls you back to the same emotional points, dragging your hopes and intentions along familiar grooves. You start to recognize the rhythm, the late-night texts, the anxious need to be understood, the desperate hope that someone will stay if only you explain one more time. Each repetition is a fingerprint of the past, etched into your psyche, invisible yet undeniable. Then comes the mirror, the most revealing, cruel, and enlightening reflection of all. Other people's reactions are not merely responses, they are windows into the shadow you refuse to see. A critical glance, a sudden withdrawal, a dismissive comment, they illuminate parts of yourself you have hidden, denied, or avoided. Every person who challenges, ignores, or misinterprets you is holding up a mirror, showing the unacknowledged fears and insecurities that drive your compulsion to justify. Their absence, their impatience, their indifference. It is not always about them. It is about the patterns you carry, the wounds that choose for you, the shadow that whispers you are not enough until proven. You begin to notice it in friendships, in love, in work, everywhere you expect connection and yet feel the invisible pull to explain, to negotiate, to justify, and in that recognition, a heavy truth settles. The shadow will not disappear, but it can be met. Its power comes not from being hidden, but from being unacknowledged. You understand that your exhaustion, your anxiety, your compulsion to over-explain all of it is not arbitrary. It is a dialogue with your own unhealed self, a conversation with old wounds that once had no voice. This awareness is the first step. You are no longer blind to the mechanisms guiding you. You begin to see the patterns in their full depth, like watching the gears of a clock turning beneath its face. Each repeated behavior, each silent compromise, each anxious reassurance is now illuminated, and with that illumination comes choice. You can meet the shadow without surrendering. You can recognize the invisible puppeteer and decide which strings you allow to move. You can acknowledge the old wounds, honor their existence, and yet refuse to be driven by them. It is not easy. It requires courage to face the mirror of others without flinching, to stop reacting automatically, to silence the compulsion to justify. But in that courage lies freedom. In that recognition lies the power to step off the pendulum and stand in your own center, unshaken by the unconscious currents that once pulled you. The shadow speaks to those who listen. Face it, and you choose your own path. You cannot find peace by avoiding the storm. When you stop explaining, the world feels suddenly hollow. The words you used to craft bridges, to soothe fears, to maintain connection, fall silent. And in that silence, you hear the emptiness echo back. Approval vanishes. Validation disappears. The nods, the smiles, the fleeting signs of recognition gone. You walk into rooms that feel too large, corridors of conversation stretching into emptiness. Mirrors that once reflected approval now show only your own gaze, staring back, fractured and uncertain. You begin to question everything. Did they ever care? Were you ever enough? Every memory of reassurance twists into doubt. The world seems colder, the air sharper. You are left with your thoughts as your only companions. And in that emptiness, the raw truth is undeniable. The approval you sought was never stable. It was always temporary. You realize now that your exhaustion, your anxiety, your constant justifications were not bridging gaps. They were hiding the depth of your loneliness. And yet, this fall is necessary. The absence of validation strips away illusion. It forces you to confront the stark landscape of your own emotional reality. Identity, once camouflaged behind explanations, begins to tremble. The mask you wore to smooth interactions, to ease anxieties, to gain acceptance, starts to crack. You see yourself not as others see you, but as you truly are, messy, flawed, vulnerable, human. The pieces of your constructed self, assembled to keep others comfortable, are now scattered. You feel the disorientation, the fear of exposure, the quiet panic of being seen without permission. Every habit of explanation, every carefully chosen word, now stands as a reminder of what you thought you were supposed to be. And yet within this disarray lies clarity. The parts of you that were hidden, denied or minimized, are now visible. You begin to understand your authentic self, stripped of pretense, stripped of performance. Identity is no longer a performance for others. It is a presence you inhabit, unshakable even when the applause dies. The trial is brutal, but it is also liberating. Then the storm hits. Fear surges like wind through the empty rooms, doubt lashes like rain against fragile windows, and vulnerability rises like a tide, threatening to drown you. The habits and patterns that once guided your interactions no longer provide stability. The silence, once comforting, now presses against your chest. You feel unmoored, exposed, untethered. Your instincts scream to explain, to justify, to regain what was lost. But the storm is not an enemy. It is a crucible. Each gust, each tremor, each flicker of fear is purging the old dependencies, burning away the need for constant approval. You are learning to sit in the chaos, to breathe in the emptiness, to feel the rawness of your own presence without flinching. In the eye of this emotional tempest, you begin to recognize that collapse is not destruction, it is transformation. What falls away is the false identity built for others. What remains is the self that was always there, waiting beneath the noise, waiting for courage to stop negotiating, waiting for the stillness that only comes when you stop explaining. Chaos reveals the self. Stillness restores it. People will do anything to avoid facing the emptiness within themselves. You think you were loved. You remember the smiles, the texts, the laughter, the fleeting moments when attention landed on you and made your chest feel lighter. But you begin to see it now. What you mistook for love was often needed, disguised as affection. Someone wanted reassurance, wanted validation, wanted the warmth of your compliance more than the truth of who you are. You gave it freely, hoping it was enough to hold them, to bind them, to make them stay. But the difference between love and need is subtle, invisible, until the moment you stop explaining yourself. Love does not demand a ledger of justifications. Love does not vanish when you cease to appease. Need, on the other hand, evaporates the moment the compulsion to validate diminishes. You realize how many nights you replayed conversations, drafted messages in your mind, smoothed out the sharp edges of yourself, all to feed the hunger of someone else. It was never about you. It was about their fear of emptiness, their attachment, their craving for comfort, the clarity hits. They were not loyal to your soul. They were loyal to the idea of you that served their needs. And in that realization, the first weight lifts. Clarity is a strange, luminous thing. It arrives slowly, like sunlight piercing storm clouds after a long night. Once you see the truth, the illusions begin to dissolve. The frustration, the self-doubt, the compulsive explanations, they lose their hold. You begin to feel the freedom of understanding. This was never a failing on your part. It was never a reflection of your worth. The people who left, the people who demanded your constant justification, were never capable of giving what you sought: authentic connection, unconditional regard, mutual respect. And now, liberated from the mirage, you can breathe without seeking approval. You can move through your day without rehearsing speeches or counting the weight of your words. There is space now for yourself, for your voice, for your authentic self to rise without negotiation. The chains that once bound your confidence, forged by misunderstanding, fear, and dependency, fall quietly one by one. You feel the lightness, the release, the sudden, unexpected peace of knowing you are enough on your own. And with this peace comes a new vision of connection. You understand that real bonds do not require constant explanation. They do not collapse under silence. True alignment is unspoken, yet unmistakable. When someone remains, it is because they resonate with your essence, not because you rationalized your worth to them. You no longer need to test their loyalty with words or gestures, because authentic people do not abandon presence for lack of justifications. You begin to see the patterns of your past relationships with newfound discernment, the dependencies, the fleeting validations, the illusions of love. And in this vision, hope emerges. I hope that future connections will reflect mutual understanding, respect, and shared alignment. Hope that your presence will be enough. Just as you are, the past no longer burdens you. It teaches you the missteps, the illusions, the departures, all part of a larger tapestry that guides you toward those who are capable of authentic, steady, enduring connection. Love stays without explanation. The rest was never yours to hold. Knowing your darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. You have avoided it for so long. That quiet, gnawing shadow inside, the one that whispers you are not enough, that demands constant justification, that magnifies every slight and misstep. It has been lurking in the corners of your mind, influencing every word you say, every gesture you make, every apology you offer. Facing it is terrifying. It asks for courage you have not summoned before. It requires that you stand alone, without armor, without excuses, without the comforting illusion that someone else's approval can make you whole. And yet, this is the very path to power. When you look into the shadow, truly look, you see the roots of your compulsions. You see the unmet needs, the early wounds, the fears of abandonment that have guided you like invisible strings. You confront the truth that all those explanations, all those justifications, were attempts to placate a part of yourself you refuse to see. And as you name it, as you witness it without flinching, something shifts. The fear begins to loosen its grip. The voice of the shadow, once deafening, becomes intelligible. It is not your enemy. It is a guide, a teacher, a signal pointing toward what needs attention. You begin to understand, courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to face it, to stare into your own depths without retreat. Acknowledgement is the key. You do not suppress this shadow. You do not fight it with anger, avoidance, or distraction. Instead, you integrate it. You let the fire of past wounds temper your resolve, like steel forged in a furnace. Every insecurity, every ache, every moment you once wished to erase becomes raw material for strength. The fear of rejection, the need to justify, the anxious dependence, All are transformed into awareness, into clarity, into a grounded presence that no external circumstance can shake. You visualize the flames of the past, not as a threat, but as a forge. You step into it willingly. You recognize the discomfort, honor it, and allow it to shape a stronger, wiser version of yourself. Emotional independence is not denial. It is mastery. You no longer shrink from your own depths. You no longer need to prove your worth at every turn. The shadow, once a chain, becomes a compass. It shows you where healing is needed, where boundaries are weak, where authenticity has been buried. And with each conscious step, your presence grows more unassailable. Authority over yourself emerges naturally from this process. You no longer speak to convince, to appease, to tether others to your sense of worth. You speak from clarity, from conviction, from a grounded understanding that your value is inherent, not contingent. You trust that those who belong in your life will remain unshaken by silence, unshaken by absence, unshaken by the refusal to justify yourself. Your energy is no longer spent on convincing, it is spent on being. You notice the difference immediately. Interactions feel lighter, relationships feel more honest, and your own mind feels free from the constant negotiation with external expectations. The power of self-mastery is intoxicating not because it dominates others, but because it liberates you from the compulsions that once dictated your life. The shadow, once feared, now serves as your guide, a reminder of the strength that lies in acceptance, the wisdom that lies in integration, and the confidence that comes from unwavering presence. You are no longer a prisoner of explanations. You are no longer driven by the tides of approval. You are steady, resolute, unshakable, and alive in a way that commands neither fear nor apology. Face your shadow. It will teach you your strength, and the right people will remain. Peace comes not from controlling others, but from mastering yourself. You release the tension slowly, like exhaling after a long storm. The compulsion to justify, to explain, to negotiate for approval falls away. You notice who stays without prompting, who remains without demands, who aligns without explanation. Their presence is quiet, steady, and true. It does not tremble at your silence. It does not disappear when you stop seeking validation. In this detachment, there is a subtle, powerful strength. You realize that letting go is not surrender, it is mastery. You are no longer tethered to the fleeting tides of others' approval. You are anchored in yourself. And in this calm, you begin to see clearly the people who belong in your life will stay. They do not need your explanations. They do not require constant reassurance. They resonate with your essence, not your performance. Observing this quietly without interference, you feel the first real weight lift from your shoulders. The relationships that emerge now are different. They reflect who you are, not who you bend yourself to be. Respect, understanding, and genuine presence form the foundation. There is no ledger of justifications, no anxious calculations of worth. Conversations are effortless, connections feel natural, and loyalty arises without coercion. You notice the subtle joy of being seen and accepted without having to prove anything. These bonds are sustainable because they are rooted in authenticity. You no longer expend energy on endless explanations or rehearsed justifications. Instead, you invest in presence, in integrity, in the calm awareness that your value is inherent. With this understanding, each interaction becomes a mirror, reflecting back the self-assurance and emotional independence you have cultivated. The simplicity of these connections is liberating. They are proof that when you stop performing for others, the right people gravitate toward your authentic presence naturally, effortlessly, and the life that unfolds is unburdened. You walk through days without rehearsing words or calculating reactions. Decisions are made from clarity, not fear. Your energy, once scattered in attempts to validate, is now concentrated in growth, creativity, and self-alignment. You feel lighter, freer, and more grounded than ever before. There is space for stillness, for joy, for authentic expression. You notice the little things. A smile without an agenda, a conversation that flows without tension, the simple relief of being understood without asking. In this liberated state, hope is not a distant dream, it is a living, breathing reality. Emotional chaos no longer controls you. You are centered, you are calm, you are present, and in this presence, life becomes a canvas on which you paint your own truth, vibrant and unshakable. Calm within attracts the right. Peace is the new power. You cannot change anything until you accept it. You feel it again tonight. The pull, the rush of wanting, the ache that starts in your chest and settles like a storm behind your ribs. It's urgent, relentless, demanding attention. You scroll, swipe, chase shadows across screens. You linger in crowded rooms, but loneliness follows you, heavier than the noise. Lust feels alive, seductive, a fire that promises warmth, but often leaves only ashes on your skin. Every glance, every fleeting touch, every whispered promise is a spark. Yet, when you reach for it, when you try to hold it, the emptiness grows louder. You start to wonder, is this desire or something else? Something deeper that hunger is trying to hide. Think of the last time you were consumed by this craving. Maybe it was the thrill of a stranger's attention, or the intoxicating warmth of someone who seemed to see you. That moment of connection feels alive, electric, but it never lasts. The longing returns sharper, more insistent. You tell yourself you want them, but beneath the surface, it isn't about them at all. It's about a wound inside you, a hollow place where self-connection should be. Carl Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart." What you chase outside is a reflection of what you avoid inside. The people, the lust, the rush, they are all mirrors. Every glance, every touch, every fleeting thrill is a surface distraction from the chasm within. Imagine standing before a mirror, and the face staring back is not the one you recognize. The eyes are familiar but distant, holding the questions you've refused to ask. Why do I feel so restless? Why does connection slip through my fingers like smoke? Why does desire feel endless yet unsatisfying? Lust is the mask, the actor playing a role on a stage you've built for distraction. It is not love, not intimacy. It is a symptom of emptiness. It thrives on avoidance. You fill your nights with people, screens, fleeting pleasures, yet the hollow inside remains. You are not wrong for feeling this. You are human. But the truth is, no amount of chasing, no amount of craving will ever satisfy what you refuse to face. And this is where the journey begins. Tonight, you are invited to look closer, to see the patterns, to question hunger. The script ahead will expose the illusions, show the shadow that drives your impulses, and uncover the hidden wounds that have guided your choices without your consent. You will feel the tension, the raw edge of recognition, the uncomfortable truth that desire is often a signal of what you've ignored within. You will confront the emptiness not with shame but with clarity. The fire you chase outside can become the light you cultivate inside. Every craving, every restless heartbeat, every fleeting connection is a signal. It whispers of neglected parts, of silence where attention is due, of longing for yourself more than anyone else. You have been seeking fulfillment in the wrong places, mistaking lust for intimacy, thrill for connection, heat for warmth. But the road ahead promises revelation. It is suspenseful, yes, unsettling, but also necessary. You are about to see that what you thought you wanted was never the point. What you were avoiding was never far from your own shadow. The journey begins in honesty, in courage, in the willingness to face what has been hidden. You are not hungry. You are the one who can feed it with truth. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. You feel it again, the rush that flares the moment someone smiles, texts back, or looks your way. It's intoxicating, like standing at the edge of a cliff with the wind roaring around you. Your chest pounds, your mind spins. Every message, every touch, every stolen glance whispers, "This is what you need. This is what will complete you." Lust masquerades as love. It wraps itself in warmth. It offers connection. It promises excitement. And for a moment you believe it. You think you're falling in love, But beneath the surface there is only a hollow echo, a shadow of connection that disappears the moment the thrill fades. You chase it relentlessly, night after night, like a moth circling a flame, and yet the emptiness remains. The illusion seduces you because it's familiar, because it mimics the intimacy you crave, but it is not the real thing. Think about the world you live in today. Movies paint love as endless desire, every gaze heavy with chemistry, every touch electric, every rejection temporary and dramatic. Social media floods your mind with filtered faces and curated moments that scream connection but deliver emptiness. Even your friends, knowingly or unknowingly, reinforce the script. You are incomplete without the chase, without the attention, without the thrill. Carl Jung warned that we often project our inner void onto the world, searching outside for what can only be filled within. The culture around you whispers lies so convincingly that you forget to notice the chasm inside. You laugh, you flirt, you swipe, and yet the hollow inside grows louder. Your habits, your routines, even your fantasies become mirrors reflecting not desire for another, but yearning for yourself. And then there are the false safety nets, the fleeting highs you allow yourself to chase, believing they will soothe the emptiness. Casual flings, endless scrolling, likes, comments, fleeting validation. They give the illusion of warmth, of being seen, of being wanted. But each one is temporary, a fragile bridge over a canyon that cannot be crossed with someone else's attention. You feel relief for a moment, then a sharper ache returns. You tell yourself it's connection, it's love, it's intimacy, but it is none of those things. It is a mirage built from habit, fear, and avoidance. You are numbing yourself from facing the quiet truth. The hunger you feel is not for them, it is for yourself. These false comforts, these fleeting pleasures, create a pattern. They teach you to rely on the surface, to run from silence, to flee from the shadow. This is where awareness must emerge. You must recognize the seduction for what it is. A beautiful, dangerous lie. Lust will always promise more than it can give. The world will always suggest external fulfillment, but the emptiness you chase is not outside. It has been inside all along. The sparks, the chemistry, the attention, they are mirrors. The mirror reflects your unacknowledged longing, your unattended wounds, your fragmented self. To continue believing otherwise is to remain in a cycle that numbs, distracts and binds. The illusion is powerful, yes, but the recognition of it is more powerful. To see it clearly is to take the first step toward reclaiming your inner life, toward understanding desire, not as a curse, but as a signal. You are not lost in others. You are waiting to be found in yourself. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. You do not realize it, but there is a force moving behind your every craving, every compulsive impulse, every restless night spent chasing what cannot satisfy you. It is unseen, silent, and persistent. This is your shadow, the part of yourself you have hidden, ignored, or denied. It whispers in your ear when you think you are choosing freely, guiding you toward patterns that repeat over and over, like a film on loop you cannot stop. You chase attention from one person to the next, yet the same ache greets you each morning. You believe you are following desire, but in truth, the shadow is steering, puppeteering, and laughing softly at the illusion of control. Jung called this the unconscious, the hidden self that shapes reality while you sleepwalk through life. It does not lie, but it is ruthless. It does not comfort, but it instructs, and until you see it, you will remain its unwitting servant. Look closer at the origins of these urges. The shadow does not appear from nowhere. It grows from wounds you received long before you understood them. Neglect in childhood, moments of abandonment, the silent shame that crept into your bones when love was conditional. Perhaps you were ignored when you needed attention, or punished for expressing fear, or taught that desire itself was dangerous. These voids shape the way you pursue intimacy. The hunger you feel is not for connection, it is a demand from the unhealed parts of yourself seeking acknowledgement. You chase lust, not to enjoy it, but to soothe the invisible ache, to silence the echo of absence that has never been answered. You may look at your history and see failures or patterns you cannot explain, but they are not accidents. They are messages from the shadow, insisting you pay attention, guiding your steps in a dance you never learned to recognize. Notice how the patterns manifest. The same types of people, the same scenarios, the same mistakes. Each repetition is a mirror of an old wound. You think you are choosing, yet the shadow has already chosen for you. You are drawn to fiery personalities that mimic your inner chaos, to partners who replicate rejection, to situations that trigger the same old insecurities. Every flirtation, every connection, every disappointment is pre-written by the script of your unhealed self. Imagine your life as a stage, but you are not the playwright. You are an actor reading lines handed down from the past. Each time you repeat the pattern, the shadow nods quietly, confirming its presence. Recognition is the first step to liberation. When you see the wound behind the desire, when you trace the invisible thread from your emptiness to your choices, the illusion of randomness dissolves. You begin to understand that what you called fate was never random. It was a call for consciousness. And now the revelation hits. You are not powerless. You are not doomed to repeat endlessly. But you cannot reclaim autonomy until you meet the shadow without fear. You must name the wound, trace the pattern, and confront the puppeteer silently pulling strings in your life. Lust, desire, compulsive attraction, they are not your enemies. They are signals, coded messages from the parts of yourself you have refused to see. Compassion, honesty, and awareness are the keys. You are learning to recognize the hidden force, to map the territory of your unhealed self, and to see the choices that were never truly yours. Every compulsive impulse becomes an opportunity to reclaim power, to turn attention inward, and to heal the void that has directed your longing for so long. The shadow does not control you. You choose to bring it into the light. You are what you do, not what you say you'll do. You look in the mirror, and the reflection feels strange, fractured, unfamiliar. Last night's choices, the people you chased, the attention you thought would fill you, they all fade like smoke, leaving only residue, confusion, shame, self-reproach. You replay every conversation, every glance, every moment you let desire lead you, and the weight hits like a storm. Your chest tightens, your mind spins. You ask yourself, why do I feel empty after the thrill? Why does the craving return stronger, sharper? Lust promised connection, warmth, even love. But now, staring at your own reflection, you see only absence. Every fleeting pleasure was a mirror reflecting what you refused to confront, the gaps within yourself. Guilt seeps in. Not from moral failure alone, but from realizing that in chasing what you thought you wanted, you lost sight of who you are. Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The darkness is here, in the quiet aftermath of impulsive pursuits, and it demands recognition. Piece by piece, the structure of who you believed yourself to be begins to crumble. Your identity, once anchored in self-respect, becomes scattered among the roles you played to chase approval and intimacy. You start defining yourself by attention received, messages returned, fleeting moments of attraction. Each pattern chips away at your core, leaving fragments you no longer recognize. The self you once claimed is now a mosaic of desire-driven actions, stitched together with anxiety and longing. You cannot remember the last time you acted from true knowing, from grounded self-respect. Every decision influenced by lust has fractured you further, leaving your inner world vulnerable, raw, exposed. The more you look outward for validation, the smaller the pieces of you become, and yet, in this disorientation lies a signal. The self you thought lost is waiting for acknowledgement, waiting for reunion, and then the avalanche hits. It is subtle at first, a pang of regret, a tremor of exhaustion, but soon it grows relentlessly. Anxiety coils around your chest, shame presses at your throat, and guilt echoes like thunder in every thought. You feel physically drained, emotionally shredded, like a storm has passed through your bones. Each heartbeat reminds you of the emptiness you tried to escape. Each memory of impulsive acts accelerates the collapse. Nights stretch long, sleepless, as your mind spins in spirals of what if, and how did I let this happen? The chaos is intoxicating, suffocating, and immersive. You feel caught between fear of facing yourself and the compulsive need to distract from yourself. Yet, this emotional collapse is not punishment. It is the universe's mirror, reflecting the cost of neglecting your inner life, of leaving wounds unhealed. The collapse is brutal, yes, but it is also necessary. It clears the debris, forcing you to confront the truth. Lust was never enough, external thrills were never enough, and only integration of the self can restore the pieces scattered by avoidance. In this chaos, you sense the first threads of clarity. The storm is not your end, but your awakening. Recognition, though painful, becomes a tool. The mirror of loss, the shattered identity, the avalanche of emotions, they are all evidence that your inner life is calling for attention. Each fragmented piece is a signal, each pang of guilt an invitation to self-reflection. You begin to understand that collapse is a form of communication, the psyche insisting on acknowledgement, insisting on reunion, insisting on wholeness. When you feel fractured, it is not weakness, it is a call to gather the scattered pieces and face the shadows that have guided you so far. You are ready to learn, to rebuild, to meet yourself fully. You are not broken. You are gathering the pieces to become whole. Love does not consist in gazing at each other, but in looking outward together in the same direction. You remember the intensity, the fire, the way your pulse raced at the sight of them. You told yourself it was love. Every glance, every touch, every stolen moment felt monumental. But now, with quiet reflection, you see it clearly. It was never love. It was lust masquerading as connection. Desire cloaked in warmth. Lust promises, but it cannot give. It excites, but it cannot nurture. It takes, but it does not sustain. Love is patience, depth, understanding, and shared growth. Lust is the mirror reflecting only your craving, your emptiness, your need for distraction. You can see it now in the patterns you repeated, the fleeting highs, the inevitable crash. The truth has a sharp edge. The longing you chased was not for the other person. It was for the self you refused to meet. And now you can look at yourself without condemnation. You understand that you were not weak, only unaware. Every impulsive pursuit, every desperate grasp for attention, every attempt to fill the void externally was a signal from the parts of you that needed care. You were learning the hard way, guided by the shadow, testing the limits of desire, discovering what satisfaction cannot be found outside yourself. There is no shame in this, only clarity waiting to be embraced. Jung said, "Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart." To meet your past choices with empathy is not indulgence, it is self-liberation. The mistakes, the misjudgments, the nights of chasing empty warmth. They were teachers, not punishers. You can acknowledge them, honor the lessons, and release the self-reproach that has weighed you down. Now the spell begins to break. You learn to pause before pursuit, to notice the impulse, to ask, am I chasing connection or am I running from emptiness? You cultivate awareness with small exercises, mindful breathing when desire flares, reflection on motivations before acting, journaling the patterns that repeat. You start seeing the difference between longing for presence and longing for escape. Attention shifts inward, curiosity replaces compulsion, and clarity begins to form like dawn, breaking over a long, dark night. Each time you recognize the illusion, the grip loosens. Each moment of self-observation strengthens your autonomy. Lust no longer deceives you as easily, because you are learning to listen to the quiet voice inside, the part of you that wants genuine connection, real intimacy, authentic love. This reframe is subtle but transformative. You are learning that love begins within, that the hunger you once projected outside is a call to nourish your own heart. You start noticing patterns without judgment, observing impulses without acting on them, feeling desire without being controlled by it. Each insight, each moment of clarity, each recognition of the difference between surface-level lust and enduring love plants a seed of empowerment. You are reclaiming your mind, your body, your choices, and your capacity to see the world and yourself with honesty. What felt like longing becomes reflection. What felt like desperation becomes understanding. You are not trapped by your past impulses, you are guided by emerging consciousness. It was never love outside, it begins with love inside. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. You stand at the edge of a long shadow, the one you have avoided all your life. It stretches behind you, familiar yet feared, dense with memories, impulses, and wounds you never wanted to see. The shadow whispers in silence, reminding you of desires you denied, mistakes you buried, and fears you ignored. It is uncomfortable, almost suffocating, but it is also real, alive, waiting. You cannot step forward into growth without stepping into it first. Jung called it the shadow, the unconscious part of yourself that holds all you have hidden or repressed. Tonight you are invited to meet it, to face the emotions you pushed down, the impulses you labeled shameful, the voids you tried to fill externally. There is no escaping it. Running only strengthens its hold. To confront the shadow is not weakness. It is courage of the deepest order. It is a descent into darkness, with the intention to rise transformed. You feel the hesitation, the fear, the resistance. But imagine the liberation that comes when you finally stop fleeing yourself. As you take that first step inward, the process begins to change you. The darkness you feared becomes alchemy. Every suppressed emotion, every wound, every hidden impulse turns into insight when observed with honesty. The hunger you once chased outside is redirected into understanding, autonomy, and authentic desire. What felt like emptiness now becomes a canvas of potential. Each encounter with your shadow dissolves the illusion that fulfillment must come from another. Desire becomes conscious, choices become deliberate, and the longing for connection turns inward toward integration. You begin to recognize patterns you could not see before. The fire that once consumed you now illuminates your inner landscape, showing paths previously hidden. Like refining metal in the hottest flames, confronting the shadow purifies your impulses, revealing the strength and wisdom buried beneath fear. It is not instantaneous, but each reflection, each acknowledgement, each confrontation chips away at illusion and builds resilience. And this is where practical engagement becomes crucial. Awareness without action is just observation. You start small, journaling the moments when desire flares, noting the triggers, recording the emotions that arise. You pause before reacting, asking, what am I truly seeking? What wound is speaking through this impulse? Mindful breathing, reflection, and silent observation become tools to meet the shadow with clarity rather than fear. You notice when attention is drawn outward to fill a void, when habits repeat unconsciously, when patterns replay the old scripts. The act of witnessing your own responses gives you power. You see that the shadow is not a master but a messenger. Each insight gained through these exercises is a reclaiming of self, a reclaiming of agency. You are training your attention, teaching yourself to navigate desire consciously, turning compulsion into awareness, emptiness into insight. The transformation is profound. The shadow you once feared now walks beside you, not to control, but to guide. Impulses become signals, mistakes become lessons, and emptiness becomes opportunity. Desire is no longer an external chase. It becomes a conscious dance with your own psyche, a rhythm rooted in awareness rather than avoidance. You understand that growth requires courage, confrontation, and patience. The power you sought in fleeting pleasure is within you, waiting to be realized. You are no longer at the mercy of unseen forces. You are learning to wield them, integrating shadow and light into a coherent self. What once caused turmoil now offers insight. What once drove compulsion now fosters choice. And what once felt like emptiness now holds the potential for authentic connection with yourself and ultimately with others. You are not controlled by darkness. You illuminate it within. Peace is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of conscious choice. You imagine waking up one morning feeling fully present, your chest unburdened, your mind still. The chaos that once ruled your nights, the compulsions, the cravings, the restless pursuit of fleeting desire has softened into quiet clarity. You move through the day with awareness, noticing your thoughts without being consumed by them. Connections with others feel real, deep, and reciprocal, no longer mirrors for your unhealed voids. You savor conversation, touch, and attention because you choose to, not because you chase validation. Every breath carries ownership of self. Every glance reflects inner peace rather than external longing. This is wholeness, not perfection, not absence of desire, but mastery over it. Life is richer, textured with meaning, illuminated by the understanding that your choices are yours, your attention is yours, your desire is yours to direct. You see love not as a frantic hunt for fulfillment, but as a conscious act of presence, an exchange rooted in authenticity rather than compulsion. And with this vision comes the realization of power. You are no longer bound to patterns written by your shadow, no longer reacting on autopilot to impulses that once ruled you. Each moment of temptation becomes an opportunity to exercise choice, to step back, to decide deliberately. You recognize the triggers, feel the familiar stirrings of lust or craving, and respond with conscious intention rather than automatic pursuit. You understand that chaos is seductive because it promises escape, distraction, and false satisfaction, but you no longer need it. You reclaim agency with every pause, every self-aware breath, every decision to honor your inner life over the illusion of immediate pleasure. The storm that once controlled you now bends to your observation, and you feel the exhilaration of freedom. You are learning that mastery is not denial of desire, but the power to direct it consciously, to transform longing into insight, craving into understanding, impulsivity into intentionality. And finally, you integrate the journey. You remember the nights of emptiness, the compulsions, the wounds that guided your choices without consent. You acknowledge the shadow, the illusions, the cravings, and yet you do not dwell there. You have learned from them. Lust was never love. Chaos was never peace. They were teachers, harsh but necessary, guiding you toward awareness. Now, with clarity, you see that emptiness was a signal, not a sentence. You feel gratitude for the lessons embedded in discomfort, respect for the shadow that demanded attention, and hope for the self that has emerged through confrontation and reflection. Each decision from here forward carries intention, each interaction carries authenticity, each moment carries presence. You are no longer a passenger in your own life. You are the navigator. The choice to step into peace over chaos is yours, and it is transformative. Choose presence over craving, mastery over impulse, peace over chaos,